So, I know I said in the title of this video that I haven't been working out for like 100 days or so, but the truth is, when I actually checked my calendar for workouts, I actually found that the last time I had a routine that was actually fixed was since June or May of last year. Those bubbles show every time I worked out as far as running, and it doesn't show the gym, although I worked at the gym and running basically almost every single day. I worked out like basically like around 10 times a week or so. But the idea is the last time I actually had a gym schedule or workout schedule was actually about 9 months ago. It was actually a lot more than 100 days. Now you might be wondering, Tommy, how much has your body changed since then? The answer is I can easily just show you how much my body's changed since then because hey, I make videos on YouTube, and guess what? YouTube can basically show you how I looked 9 months ago. So if you go over to my channel, TommyBryson, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, and you scroll basically all the way down to about like 9 months or so, you'll see exactly how I used to look, okay? So right here, here's the video. Let me click on it, okay? So click it, and then skip the ad. I even get ads on my own videos, by the way. And here you go. How I looked is just like this. Now, you will see not a massive change per se on how I look right now because it's not just physically, but it's actually internally. But you will notice I do have a little bit more muscle and so on, and my skin is even brighter, and I even just look different. You know, I can't really say like it's a weight thing, but no, I actually look different, okay? And it's not just a lighting thing with this whole video type thing, okay? But that's the idea. Something has changed. And by the way, in that video right there, I'm estimating I had about 165 pounds back then. And today, I weigh around 173 to 174 pounds every single day on average. How do I know that? Because I weigh myself every single day. I have not stopped that habit. Now, that means basically I've only gained about like 8 to 9 pounds in the past like 9 months. That's not that bad at all. Specifically being that the last time I stopped exercising and worked out, I basically ballooned up to 215 pounds, okay? That's the whole reason I lost weight, because I became super obese, and that was a big problem. Now, I'm not making this video to tell you guys, hey guys, I found a secret formula on how you can stop working out and still maintain your weight. That's not the video, okay? But the video is, I want to show you guys and tell you guys how I declined. And that's kind of awful, a little embarrassing, and a little humiliating, but I think there's a lot to benefit from it because when you actually have a fixed schedule to work out and so on, for example, I was working out at the gym 3 to 5 times a week and I was running at least like 5 times a week. So I was basically working out every single week about 8 to 10 times, okay? And that was basically fixed. I woke up every single morning at 5 a.m. and I had my schedule basically planned. I was reading for about like 4 hours a day or something like that. And I was basically just working hard, okay? That was the whole idea. And I still had time for my family and everything else, okay? Which was spectacular. But now all of a sudden, I barely have time for anything. I'm not working out and I'm barely reading. So what exactly is happening? How did I go from pinnacle Tommy in a way to now all of a sudden like, yo, what is up, okay? What is happening? And lastly, what am I going to do about it? Now, I hope this video actually helps you in some way because that's the goal for it, okay? It's not for me just, hey, I did this, I was this, and now I'm this. No, it's so we can actually help each other mutually. So if you have comments, suggestions, comment them down below also. And do me a favor and smash the like button. Now, the very first thing, guys, I want to talk about is this. It's more of like a warning sign. Now, the cool thing is that when you're actually trying to progress, well, you have to do it little by little because if you do it too fast, most likely you're going to burn out and then you're going to crash. So in order for me to get to the level of me running marathons and all that crazy stuff, well, I had to go little by little. I started walking, then jogging, then running, then doing it for longer and longer and longer, but it was all little by little. And the benefit was basically I was a lot healthier, I was able to eat more calories, and I just felt good overall. The disadvantage of running so much and basically working out so much is actually not the time, you know? It's not that. It's not like you're gonna lose a lot of time, but it's gonna be basically, you're going to be sore sometimes, your feet are gonna hurt sometimes, your knees might hurt sometimes, but overall, you do know you're stronger and you're better and you're not as weak as you could be if you were not doing basically all those workouts or whatever, okay? However, my declines happen little by little. In the same fashion I basically progress, the same fashion I basically decline, although it is faster. Now, what happened is I stopped doing the things that got me successful little by little. And before I knew it, I was no longer doing them. So that affects you massively. And by the way, although I might not be obese, as far as like physically though, there are some other results about this stuff that I'm actually gonna break down later in the video. So I wanna be a little bit more specific though, as far as my decline and what I actually did to actually decline, okay? Like little by little, okay? The first thing, guys, is to be able to run and to be able to perform the way I was performing, there are 3 very simple things I needed to do, okay? First, I needed to be rested. I needed to basically do it early in the morning. And lastly, I needed to also make sure I knew exactly what I was putting into my body. So for me, the best schedule that I basically found was I wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. To wake up at 5 a.m. and still feel rested, I needed to sleep by like around 9 p.m. Latest, maybe 10 p.m., okay? And to be able to actually run and perform and do all those things, I needed to make sure I was actually eating healthy, because what you put into your body is going to help with recovery. But because I was basically, here's what actually happened, okay? I started to sleep late. I stopped tracking my calories. Not like tracking the calories though, but I stopped basically looking at what I was actually eating. Instead, I was actually eating for my taste buds and not for my body and energy and health. And that is a very fast way to basically go down. But overall, when you actually break everything down at its core, what actually happened was this. I started to negotiate with myself. I started to click the snooze button, and I basically lost respect for myself. Now that sounds harsh, but it's basically the truth, okay? Whenever you tell yourself, well, I'm gonna start working on this, and you don't do it, well, eventually you build this habit that you don't even trust yourself. You don't even know if you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do. And whenever that happens, things start going downhill. And by the way, I had a few simple triggers around my house that actually helped me out a lot. And when I actually moved, a lot of those triggers basically changed. Like they didn't exist anymore. So one trigger was basically, I had the alarm clock ring at the same time every single morning, but along with that, the lights also turned on. And that might seem simple, but it actually just symbolized like, hey, it's time to wake up. The light is up, and my body would just basically say, hey, all right, let's go do it, okay? But when those things stopped, and then for example, I said, hey, my local gym sucks, so I'm basically gonna go to a gym that's like further away. Well, guess what? Now it's harder for me to go to the gym. So now I have another excuse to why not go to the gym. So all of a sudden, I'm waking up a little later, I'm not going to the gym, and I'm basically still running, right? So what happens is this. If I'm waking up later because I'm not rested and I'm not going to the gym to basically build my muscle and sustain them because running basically deteriorates them, well, now my running is a lot harder and I can't run as much or as best I possibly can because guess what? I'm not refreshed, I'm not energized, and I basically overall, I'm not as healthy as I should be to be able to be doing those tasks. So the tasks I used to do, because I did the preparation, because I'm not no longer doing the preparation, I can no longer do those tasks. It sounds like an overhyped excuse, but it is exactly what it is, okay? If you're not prepared to do a task, when you do it, it's going to be harder. And then my last and most fatal excuse was basically this. When I stopped waking up early, when I stopped going to the gym, and then I basically kept running, I said running was basically hurting my knees. And that was basically true. It was hurting my knees. But why? Because I wasn't working out. And I wasn't working out because I wasn't getting sleep. And I wasn't getting enough sleep because I was going to sleep late. And I wasn't also eating healthy. It was like this whole thing that just basically started falling apart. So then lastly I said, well, what can actually help me still exercise, but not hurt my knees. And I started basically cycling, right? Not cycling outside, but cycling from home. Then all of a sudden, I stopped cycling. And then all of a sudden, here I am, barely working out, okay? And that's what basically happened. And by the way, I know it sounds like, wow, it kind of just sounds like a domino, right? You basically just had a domino, you threw it down and it crashed, and it basically just crashed everything around you. The answer is yes, but it did not happen overnight. There was a lot of, like, for example, me going for runs where I was basically just like sleepy or whatever, and I was not well rested. There was a lot of runs that basically hurt a lot. There was a lot of workouts that basically I got back home and I was like super sore, and I was not supposed to feel that way. And it kind of sucks, honestly. So now the question is this, Tommy, if this is the case and you're no longer really working out, then what's the side effect? And why haven't you gained like all the weight you had before when you were basically like 215 pounds? The answer is, when I was 215 pounds, it was not just because I wasn't working out. It was because I was performing basically gluttony. I was a very gluttonous person in a sense. I ate beyond what I actually needed to eat. That's why people are basically obese, okay? Whenever you eat more than you need, you get fat and you become obese. So that was my main problem. So now, the only reason I haven't found myself there is because basically I'm not that person anymore. So when I am eating, although I do eat for taste buds and enjoyment and I'm not working out, I'm not going crazy. You don't see me with like a plate of food of this size and then eating this and then eating that. And by the way, I do eat like pizza. I do go to restaurants. I do things like that, okay? And that's like fine or whatever. But I don't do it in excess. And because I don't do it in excess, well, you can tell that I don't have, for example, a massive like weight gain per se. But what I do have is perspective. Although you might not see me like being fat, and my face is still the same, I have lost a lot of muscle. So here are some of the side effects of me actually not working out for this long, okay? First of all, my back hurts, my knees hurt, I feel weak, I don't feel as optimized as I used to, I don't feel as energized, and basically I stopped a lot of good habits that I had before, like the reading every single day and all these other things. Is basically decline my performance also at my job. So when one thing breaks down that's like so fundamental as far as the way you start your day, it really does trickle down into your entire day. I no longer have as much time to go visit my grandparents every single day like I used to, even though I was doing a lot more back then. It's kind of crazy, right? I was doing more then, but now all of a sudden I don't have time now, even though I'm doing less now. It's kind of crazy, but it's the truth, okay? So what's my plan exactly, okay? First of all, I want to share something with you guys, okay, which is actually super important to actually understand. If you go to my phone and you go to screen time, last week I spent an average of 7 hours and 55 minutes on my phone. That is where my time is going, on basically just losing a bunch of time on this device. So this device is basically, in a way, enslaved me, kind of made me addicted to it. And I'm actually just doing it by choice because, you know, it's a choice I make every single day to keep utilizing this device, not as a tool, but basically as an entertainment center to just watch a lot of nonsense, okay? And by the way, I don't use social media anymore, which is crazy, right? Because I thought, hey, I'm spending all my time on social media, but it's not true, because now I find myself watching videos and just watching a bunch of nonsense that actually don't add any value to me. So that is where the time I used to spend on exercise and family and efficient work now is going, okay? Now, I'm telling you this because I want to be real and realistic with you guys, okay? Because one thing I've noticed is basically we always make excuses and basically say, you know, times are just hard. You know, I'm just busy. I have more responsibilities and I have this and that. But the time is there. And you have to see exactly where you're spending your time to make a difference, okay? So here's my new plan. I need to go to the gym at least 3 times a week. Now, I don't like my local gym. So what am I going to do about that? The answer is, I don't care if I don't like it, okay? I'm going to have to go there. Now, I might not go if I get, for example, some like, like some dumbbells and stuff like that, but I don't have anywhere to place them in this apartment, so I'm probably just going to go to my local gym, although I don't like it. Life is not just about likes, it's also about what you get out of things, okay? Can't just do everything you like, okay? Super important. Number two, I need to run or walk or do some cardiovascular exercise at least for around 30 minutes, 5 to 6 times a week. That actually helps a lot with your heart, helps a lot with your energy, helps a lot overall. So am I going to be trying to run marathons or 12 miles or 15 miles or 20 miles or 20 like I used to, or run for 4 hours straight like I used to? The answer is no. I'm not really interested in that as much as I used to be, but the answer is I do want to work out. And by the way, I say 30 minutes, but I might do more, maybe do like 4 miles a day, something like that. But it's to say, for example, on top of the health part, because the more time I spend, for example, taking care of the body and maintaining it. By the way, the crazy thing is, if your car breaks down, you can always replace it. You can go into crazy debts, which I don't recommend. But if your body breaks down, you can't replace it, okay? It's the one thing you can't replace. And guess what happens if your body breaks down? Well, you're done for, and you're going to suffer for it, okay? So you really want to avoid that. And it's also going to be very expensive. So doing these things that are basically going to stop those things in the future, or basically help like detain them in the future, is going to be very beneficial. I'm also going to give myself just one rest day, and I'm going to basically try to have like a fixed time where I go to sleep and a fixed time where I wake up. And that might cost me time with people I like or people I care about, but I can't really be as present as possible with those same people if I'm just not myself, because I'm not well rested overall. Also, as far as, for example, like supplements and like taking protein and all this stuff, I'm probably gonna lay off on that, okay? Protein is cool. I don't. If you want to do that, you do it. But for me personally, I just really want to focus on just eating whole foods overall. So if I want more protein, I'll eat more food, and just basically try to count the calories and manage it overall. And am I trying to gain all the muscles in the world? The answer is no. But muscles are important in the sense that you're not as weak, okay? You can defend yourself. You can basically strengthen your back. You can basically have less pain in your body. And these things are going to help a lot, because the older you get, the lower your muscle mass is actually going to get. So having more muscle today is going to be like an investment for the future. That's the idea, and that's the decline. Now, that's the whole thing, guys, okay? So I hope this video actually helped you in some way, and you're not thinking about like, hey, Tommy, I'm just gonna stop eating like I used to, and that way I'm gonna maintain my weight. The answer is, it's going to cost you a lot more. There are a lot of people in the hospital that basically look like they're healthy, but internally, because they don't work out or take care of what they eat, they're basically dying, okay? So it's a lot more than just how you look. It's also on the inside. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Peace.